From the past to present, how President Trump's reference to McKinley could shape future economic strategies. Introduction. The recent exploration of Donald Trump's admiration for President William McKinley offers profound insights into potential future economic strategies in the United States. Trump's shift from praising Andrew Jackson to embracing McKinley as a key inspiration during his second term marks a pivotal moment in his political narrative, particularly focusing on themes of protectionism and expansionism. Historical context and key themes. 1. Populism and protectionism. Trump's alignment with McKinley is rooted in the latter's advocacy for protectionist economic policies, particularly through tariffs. McKinley's era was characterized by high tariffs designed to protect American industries from foreign competition. In a notable speech to the Economic Club of New York, Trump quoted McKinley, asserting that tariffs enriched the lives of Americans. This nostalgic return to what Trump perceives as a golden age of American capitalism suggests a revival of protectionist policies that could prioritize domestic production and employment over global trade. 2. Economic myths and realities. Critics of Trump's economic philosophy argue that his romanticized view of the McKinley era glosses over the significant economic turmoil of the 1890s, including the Panic of 1893, which led to widespread unemployment and financial instability. Economic historian Jonathan Levy emphasizes that the per capita GDP during McKinley's presidency does not support Trump's claims of wealth during that time. Instead, this era is more accurately remembered for its stark inequalities and the rise of powerful corporate interests, a narrative that resonates with Trump's own plutocratic associations in contemporary politics. 3. Expansionism. Trump's ambitions echo McKinley's imperialist policies, particularly the territorial expansions following the Spanish-American War. Trump's recent threats regarding the annexation of Greenland and the Panama Canal highlight a desire to secure economic interests abroad, mirroring McKinley's expansionist mindset. This perspective positions such territorial claims as strategic moves to enhance national security and access valuable resources, reinforcing the notion of American exceptionalism and dominance on the global stage. Policy implications. Trump's embrace of McKinley's policies suggests a potential resurgence of corporate-friendly economic strategies that may exacerbate wealth inequality. His proposals to replace income taxes with increased tariffs have been criticized for being economically unsound, likely resulting in retaliatory tariffs from trade partners and inflationary pressures domestically. This shift towards protectionism could deepen the divide between economic classes, favoring corporations and the wealthy while neglecting the broader working population. Executive actions and symbolism. In January 2025, Trump issued an executive order to rename Mount McKinley back to honor the 25th president, reinforcing his administration's commitment to celebrating figures that align with his vision of American greatness. This symbolic act reflects a broader strategy to reshape American identity around historical narratives that resonate with Trump's brand of nationalism and economic policy. Conclusion. Trump's reference to McKinley signifies a strategic pivot towards nostalgic economic policies reminiscent of the late 19th century. While he frames this approach as a pathway to revitalize American prosperity, historical evidence and economic theory suggest that such a return could lead to increased inequality and instability. The interplay of populism, protectionism, and expansionism under Trump's leadership raises critical questions about the future trajectory of American economic policy. Sources. 1. Truthdig, The Paradox of a McKinley Populism, Connor Lynch. 2. White House Press Release, Restoring Names That Honor American Greatness. 3. Peterson Institute for International Economics, blog post on Trump's celebration of McKinley. This report encapsulates the implications of Trump's admiration for McKinley, highlighting historical context, potential economic strategies, and the socio-political ramifications of his policies moving forward. The content presents several counterintuitive aspects regarding President Trump's reference to McKinley that can impact perceptions of economic strategies and historical narratives. 1. Misleading nostalgia for economic prosperity. Trump's invocation of McKinley as an emblem of economic success is paradoxical. Historical analysis indicates that the 1890s, often portrayed as a prosperous time, were actually marked by significant economic turmoil, including the Panic of 1893. Trump's assertion that the U.S. was wealthier during this period contradicts economic data, revealing a disconnect between nostalgic rhetoric and economic reality. 2. Protectionism versus economic growth. While Trump champions protectionism, citing McKinley's high tariffs as beneficial for American workers, economic historians argue that such policies can lead to detrimental effects, including inflation and trade wars. The counterintuitive implication is that the protectionist strategies Trump admires may not only fail to replicate past successes but could also exacerbate current economic challenges, contrary to his claims of fostering a golden age. 3. Romanticizing imperialism. Trump's ambitions for territorial expansion resonate with McKinley's imperialist policies. However, the historical context reveals that such expansion often resulted in significant humanitarian crises and conflicts, as seen in the Philippines. This romanticized view of expansionism overlooks the violent realities that accompanied it, suggesting a troubling trend in American foreign policy that could repeat historical mistakes. 4. Corporate interests versus populist rhetoric. Trump's embrace of McKinley's economic policies reflects a broader trend of prioritizing corporate interests under the guise of populism. The historical context shows that the policies from the McKinley era led to entrenched wealth among a select few, contradicting the populist narrative Trump purports to champion. This tension reveals a potential reversion to an economic model that exacerbates inequality rather than alleviates it. 5. Historical amnesia. Trump's selective admiration for McKinley emphasizes a broader historical amnesia where the complexities and challenges of the past are simplified to fit a political narrative. This can lead to a skewed understanding of economic and social dynamics, suggesting that without critical engagement with history, policymakers may repeat the mistakes of their predecessors. 6. Renaming is a symbol of national identity. The executive order to rename Mount McKinley back to honor McKinley symbolizes a broader attempt to reshape American identity around figures that align with Trump's vision. This act of renaming, while seemingly innocuous, reflects a deeper ideological commitment to a version of American greatness that emphasizes nationalism and economic protectionism, potentially sidelining more inclusive narratives of American history. 7. Polarization of economic discourse. Finally, Trump's reference to McKinley may further polarize economic discourse in the U.S. as it juxtaposes the ideals of protectionism against globalism. This counterintuitive dynamic could entrench divisions between those advocating for modern economic integration and those nostalgic for a protectionist past, complicating the path to consensus on future economic strategies. These counterintuitive elements highlight the complexities of Trump's economic strategies and the historical narratives he invokes, suggesting a need for critical examination of both past and present economic policies. The exploration of Donald Trump's reverence for President William McKinley encompasses various nuances and implications that merit deeper examination. While many discussions may focus on the broad strokes of Trump's protectionist economic policies or his nostalgic view of the Gilded Age, several critical aspects are often overlooked which could shape future economic strategies and societal dynamics in the U.S. Here are some important yet frequently overlooked content points from the report that hold significant implications for understanding Trump's economic vision. 1. Nostalgia for the Gilded Age. Trump's idealization of the 1890s as a golden age is not just a historical misrepresentation, it reflects a deeper yearning for a time characterized by minimal regulation and low taxes. This view ignores the economic realities of that era, which included severe economic downturns, high unemployment, and stark inequalities. The significance of this nostalgia lies in its potential to guide contemporary policies that may repeat the mistakes of the past. By framing the Gilded Age as a time of prosperity, Trump risks pushing the U.S. toward economic strategies that favor the wealthy, echoing the past's plutocratic tendencies. 2. Misinterpretation of McKinley's policies. Trump's selective celebration of McKinley's policies, particularly regarding tariffs, is significant for a few reasons. Firstly, McKinley's high tariffs were designed to protect nascent American industries, but they also contributed to retaliatory trade measures that can provoke economic isolationism. Many overlook the fact that the historical context surrounding tariffs included significant class conflict and economic instability. Understanding this context is crucial because it highlights the potential pitfalls of a return to such protectionist measures, which could lead to trade wars detrimental to the average American worker. 3. Economic myths versus reality. Critics of Trump's economic narrative often cite historical data to combat his assertions about the prosperity of the 1890s. However, what is often overlooked is how these myths can resonate with the electorate, shaping public perception and acceptance of policies that may not be economically sound. Trump's claims, if left unchallenged, can legitimize a form of governance that prioritizes corporate interests over the welfare of the broader population. The significance of this aspect lies in its capacity to mobilize support for policies that may exacerbate income inequality and economic instability, undermining the democratic ideals of equitable growth. 4. The role of corporate interests. Trump's admiration for McKinley can also be seen as a reflection of his connections with modern-day corporate elites, reminiscent of the robber barons of the late 19th century. This relationship is often overlooked in discussions about Trump's economic policies. The significance here is twofold. It indicates a potential resurgence of corporate power in governance akin to the late 1800s, and it raises concerns about the erosion of regulatory frameworks designed to protect consumers and workers. By invoking McKinley, Trump may inadvertently signal a return to an era where corporate interests reign supreme, posing risks to democratic accountability. 5. Expansionism as economic strategy. Trump's expansionist rhetoric, particularly regarding territories like Greenland and the Panama Canal, reflects a broader imperialistic mindset characteristic of the McKinley era. This aspect is often overshadowed by discussions about tariffs and domestic policy. The significance here lies in the implications of such expansionism for international relations and domestic economic strategies. The framing of foreign territories as potential economic assets risks repeating historical patterns of exploitation and imperialism, which could lead to conflicts and moral quandaries in U.S. foreign policy. 6. Symbolic actions and national identity. Trump's executive order to restore the name Mount McKinley serves not only as a historical nod but also as a symbolic gesture that aligns with his vision of American greatness. This renaming is often seen as a trivial issue, yet it carries weight. It signifies an attempt to reshape national identity and values around figures like McKinley, who embody a particular vision of American exceptionalism. The significance of this action is profound, as it can influence how future generations perceive their history and the values they associate with their national identity, potentially fostering a culture that prioritizes nationalism over inclusive democratic values. 7. Historical amnesia and its consequences. The tendency to overlook the complex realities of McKinley's presidency and the Gilded Age reflects a broader historical amnesia that can have dangerous ramifications for contemporary politics. This selective memory allows for the perpetuation of myths that support current political agendas but can lead to policies that ignore the lessons of the past. The significance of this point is that it underscores the necessity of a critical engagement with history to inform present-day decision-making, ensuring that the mistakes of the past are not repeated. 8. Economic strategies and inequality. The potential resurgence of policies that favor corporate interests and protectionism, as inspired by McKinley, raises critical questions about the future trajectory of economic inequality in the U.S. This aspect is often minimized in discussions about economic policy. The significance lies in the potential for these strategies to deepen societal divides and undermine social cohesion. As Trump's policies become more aligned with a McKinley-esque approach, it is vital to scrutinize their impact on different socioeconomic groups and ensure that the policies foster inclusive growth rather than exacerbate existing inequalities. 9. The impact of rhetoric on policy. Trump's rhetoric regarding McKinley and protectionism has the potential to mobilize support among specific voter demographics who may feel left behind in a globalized economy. This mobilization is often underestimated when analyzing the implications of his policies. The significance here is that rhetoric can shape public sentiment and political landscapes, influencing policy decisions and electoral outcomes. Understanding this dynamic is crucial for anticipating the potential paths of American economic policy under Trump's influence. Conclusion. In summary, while the exploration of Trump's admiration for McKinley offers insights into his economic strategies, it is essential to delve deeper into the overlooked aspects that could shape the future of U.S. economic policy. The interplay of nostalgia, selective historical interpretation, corporate interests, and expansionist rhetoric paints a complex picture that warrants critical examination. Understanding these nuances is vital for assessing the potential consequences of Trump's economic vision, particularly regarding inequality, corporate power, and national identity. The implications of these dynamics extend beyond mere policy choices. They reflect broader societal values and the enduring influence of historical narratives on contemporary governance. 1. Nostalgia for the McKinley era and its economic implications. Trump's admiration for McKinley is rooted in a nostalgic view of the 1890s as a golden age of American capitalism characterized by protectionist policies and high tariffs. This perspective is problematic as it overlooks the economic realities of the time, including significant inequality, class conflict, and economic downturns like the Panic of 1893. Understanding this nostalgia is crucial for analyzing how it may influence future economic strategies that prioritize protectionism, potentially leading to increased economic disparities and instability. 2. Historical revisionism and economic myths. The discourse surrounding McKinley's presidency reveals a pattern of historical revisionism, where Trump's claims about the era's prosperity are contradicted by economic data. Scholars highlight that the per capita GDP during McKinley's time was significantly lower than today, challenging the narrative of a prosperous past. This selective celebration of McKinley serves to justify current economic policies aimed at favoring corporate interests and minimizing regulations, raising critical questions about the validity and consequences of these proposed strategies. 3. Expansionist policies and their economic motivations. Trump's ambitions for territorial expansion, echoing McKinley's imperialist ventures, suggest a troubling inclination towards aggressive economic strategies under the guise of national interest. His threats regarding Greenland and the Panama Canal reflect a desire to exploit natural resources, mirroring the expansionist mindset of the late 19th century. Analyzing these policies offers insights into how they might reshape U.S. foreign relations and economic priorities, potentially leading to conflicts and ethical dilemmas reminiscent of imperialist histories. 4. Impact on wealth inequality and corporate power. The implications of Trump's McKinley-inspired policies raise concerns about the resurgence of corporate power and wealth inequality similar to the Gilded Age. Proposals to replace income taxes with tariffs could exacerbate economic disparities, favoring the wealthy while undermining the middle and lower classes. This potential shift in economic policy suggests a future trajectory that may entrench existing inequalities, calling for a critical examination of the socioeconomic consequences of such strategies as they unfold. Exacerbating global trade tensions and worsening the economic crisis. This historical example reflects the complexities of protectionism, similar to Trump's references to McKinley, and the potential economic consequences of high tariffs. 2. The New Deal, 1933 to 1939. Franklin D. Roosevelt's New Deal was a series of programs and reforms designed to respond to the Great Depression. It included measures to regulate the economy and provide relief to the unemployed. The New Deal's populist elements resonate with Trump's populism and his focus on American workers, showcasing a historical parallel in the use of government intervention in the economy to address widespread economic challenges. 3. Reaganomics 1980s. Under President Ronald Reagan, the U.S. adopted supply-side economics, which included tax cuts for the wealthy and deregulation aimed at stimulating economic growth. Reagan's policies aimed to reduce the role of government in the economy. Akin to the admiration Trump shows for McKinley's laissez-faire approach. The outcomes of Reagan's policies, including increased income inequality, provide a historical lens through which to view Trump's economic strategies and their potential implications. Future outlook: predictions for economic strategies inspired by Trump's reference to McKinley. As Donald Trump embarks on a second term, his increasing admiration for President William McKinley signals a potential shift in U.S. economic strategies that may resonate through the coming years. This pivot towards McKinley's protectionist and expansionist policies raises questions about the direction of American economic and geopolitical priorities. Here are some key predictions for the future based on this historical reference. 1. Resurgence of protectionism. The revival of McKinley's protectionist policies, particularly high tariffs, is likely to dominate Trump's economic agenda. Trump has already expressed intentions to implement widespread tariff increases, which he argues will protect American jobs and industries. This could lead to a protectionist wave reminiscent of the late 19th century, potentially resulting in increased trade tensions. As tariffs rise, retaliatory measures from trading partners are probable, escalating trade wars that could disrupt global supply chains. Countries may respond with their own tariffs, leading to a cycle of economic isolationism. Domestic industry focus: protectionist policies may initially benefit certain sectors of the American economy, such as manufacturing. This shift could encourage a resurgence of domestic production, but it may also lead to higher consumer prices and reduced competition. 2. Economic inequality. Trump's policies, rooted in McKinley's era, may exacerbate wealth inequality in the U.S. The focus on corporate interests and the favoring of high-income earners through tax reforms could perpetuate the existing disparities. Predictions include concentration of wealth. The continuation of policies that favor corporations and the wealthy could lead to a widening wealth gap similar to the Gilded Age. This could result in increased social unrest as the working and middle classes feel the strain of economic policies that benefit a select few. Resistance movements. Growing economic inequality may fuel populist movements from both the left and right, challenging the status quo and demanding reforms that promote economic equity and justice. 3. Expansionist policies. Trump's admiration for McKinley's imperialist ventures may lead to renewed focus on expansionist policies, particularly in terms of resource acquisition. This could manifest in several ways. Territorial ambitions. Similar to McKinley's annexation of territories, Trump may pursue aggressive foreign policy strategies aimed at acquiring resources, such as proposals regarding Greenland. This could provoke geopolitical tensions, especially in contested regions rich in natural resources. Strategic alliances. To support expansionist ambitions, the U.S. may seek to strengthen alliances with countries that share similar interests in resource acquisition and territorial security. This may lead to a realignment of global power dynamics. 4. Revival of the Gilded Age policies. The nostalgia for the Gilded Age may lead to policies that mirror the economic practices of that era, including deregulation and tax cuts for the wealthy. Predictions include deregulation trends. A push for deregulation across various industries could emerge, aimed at fostering business growth. However, this may undermine consumer protections and environmental standards, leading to potential crises. Tax policy changes. The proposal to replace income taxes with tariffs could gain traction, despite warnings from economists about its impracticality. This shift could fundamentally alter the U.S. tax landscape, favoring businesses over individuals. 5. cultural and historical reinterpretation. The symbolic renaming of landmarks and the honoring of historical influencing future elections and policy debates. Conclusion. The implications of Trump's admiration for McKinley are far-reaching and complex, suggesting a potential return to economic strategies reminiscent of the late 19th century. While these policies may promise a revival of American industrial strength and territorial expansion, they also carry the risk of exacerbating inequality, igniting trade conflicts, and polarizing the political landscape. As the U.S. navigates this new chapter, the lessons of history will be critical in shaping a balanced and equitable economic future.